What's up, guys? Welcome back to Newswave. Yesterday, we had a highly anticipated gameplay reveal for Dragon Age the Veilguard and caused quite a bit of controversy online, and we're going to take a look at that here today. Also, we are going to be going over some of those PlayStation 2 classics that were added into PlayStation Plus Premium with some varying results, and then we'll also be taking a look at Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. It's out later on this month, and previews went live yesterday with a bunch of new details. So if you guys enjoy this video, make sure you hit that like button. Helps out a ton. And if new here to the Spawnwave channel, make sure you subscribe down below. And of course, members for the channel do get Newswave early. If you'd like to learn more about that, click the join button down below this video. And we're going to start today with an update for the Nintendo Switch. A new firmware patch came out, and it removed a certain feature, which we can see this is posted up. This is the version 18.1.0 firmware update, and the following updates were made for, yes, the discontinuation of X, formerly Twitter, integration. So the option to post to Twitter when sharing from the album and the Nintendo Switch home menu was removed. The ability to post Super Smash Bros. Ultimate screenshots, the option to link X, formerly Twitter, from settings, user settings, all of that has been removed. And then, of course, general system stability improvements to enhance the user's experience. And then, as pointed out by GameSpot, Nintendo, Xbox, and PlayStation have all now abandoned Twitter and X integration, and a lot of that has to do with just apparently pricing around using the API, which was mentioned to be over $40,000 or something per month. So, yeah, obviously Nintendo, Sony, Microsoft will probably look around and say, you know what, I think we're good. Although, I guess the unfortunate thing here is you would see a lot of people post to Twitter or X from their game console consistently, and people probably discovered a lot of games that way. But when you see that pricing increase, it's like, we don't really need it that much to advertise our games. Speaking of advertising games, we did go over a release date that seemed to get out there early from GameStop over on X. Well, now it appears they've updated that situation. We can see this posted up over on their account, where they say our previous pre-order post on Metal Gear Solid Delta had an incorrect release date. More information on the game's official release will come from Konami. But you can still pre-order a copy today without a release. That's always weird to me, right? It's like, hey, pre-order your copy. We don't know when it's coming out. Just go ahead and pre-order. That's fine. Anyway, the November 17th was the leaked date, but we mentioned that's a Sunday. It's kind of weird to release on a Sunday, although it also falls in line with an anniversary for the original game, and Konami does weird things sometimes. They made Metal Gear Survive. Releasing on a Sunday seems like light work, but either way, if it is coming out, we assume this year then, and maybe if that is in question because of Silent Hill 2, sure, we could see it in like the first half of next year. But I just don't feel like it's that far off when we see things like this big special edition get out there and pre-orders have already opened. So we'll just kind of keep an eye out here for Konami when they're ready to drop that release date. Oh, and do you know how we talked about the new Call of Duty Black Ops 6 being 300 gigabytes? Well, there's a slight mix-up here with the information. Technically, the Call of Duty application itself is 300 gigabytes, but that also houses multiple Call of Duty games. We can see this posted up. This is over on Call of Duty Updates, where they talk about that application housing full installations of Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3, Warzone, relevant content packs, and includes all localized languages combined, which is not representative of a typical player install experience. There's a good chance that Black Ops 6, if you just want to play the campaign, 50 or 60 gigabytes, then you tack on the multiplayer, probably 100 or so gigabytes there. But then you want to install all these other ones. You just have an application, the Call of Duty application on your home screen that allows you to jump between these games without leaving that application, because yes, they want to keep you in that ecosystem. That's really what they're building here with Call of Duty, is this massive ecosystem now with the introduction of the application. The only thing is, it's going to keep getting larger and larger and larger, and at this rate, yeah, it probably will one day be a 1 terabyte plus installation for everything with that application. And guys, with some of the quick news out of the way, let's get into the bigger stuff. Let's start right away with Dragon Age the Veilguard. This has not gone well so far for Bioware, and a lot of it had to do with that initial reveal trailer that we saw, and People initially took a look at the art style, and I mean, there's an immediate backlash to this thing. In fact, if you take a look at that reveal trailer, which was pretty much just cinematics, essentially just setting up the tone and then the story and the characters, I mean, you can see the like to dislike ratio is massively lopsided. We're talking 222,000 dislikes to 38,000 likes. It makes sense why YouTube would hide dislikes when it comes to big brands and companies. They probably don't like necessarily seeing that out there, but still, it is there. I mean, the like to dislike ratio kind of speaks for itself. And then you go through the comments, and there's a lot of people just saying, why is this Fortnite Dragon Age? I don't understand what I'm looking at here. So, to be honest, the gameplay trailer kind of didn't have any shot at all of maybe winning people over because they probably made up their mind going into it. But we did get a gameplay reveal trailer. It's about 20 minutes or so, and it appears to show like the beginning of the game, I guess. And I say that because the character's level 1 or so. It seems odd to start a character there when you can play around with things in the development side and give yourself a bunch of cool abilities to show off some flashy moves. But no, it legitimately went to their skill bar and had one ability, and that was sort of it. Anyway, the big thing here is it does appear to be more of a cartoony art style, not as like dark and brooding maybe as previous entries, especially when you look at this and people wonder about, oh, are they going for more of a Fortnite look? And I do think the visuals themselves, so especially in the second act when they're outside in the field and lightning is striking down, you see the grass blowing around and the trees swaying, I think that looked awesome. Like the landscape, the visuals that they were fighting in. They got into the battle itself, and I mean, it is more action-based. This might be the most action-based we've seen for combat in Dragon Age. I know Dragon Age 2 got pushback for that. Inquisition did kind of step back away from that just a little bit. This looks like they just went full on, okay, this is just going to be an action style game. You're going to have like parrying and dodging, and you're just going to attack normally here. But you can still go to this command menu that appears on screen, sort of freezes everything that's happening around you, so you can make some decisions, maybe to pick out a certain ability, to buff maybe people in your team, or just something that'll just do a ton of damage. But that has certainly rubbed a lot of the fan base the wrong way, and you can again see it in a lot of the comments and things about this being not what they were expecting necessarily. And to me, when I look at what was presented here with the more action-based combat and gameplay and sort of the visuals that maybe are viewed as more cartoony, more lighthearted, more quote-unquote Fortnite, I sort of see them trying to appeal to just a wider mainstream audience with a franchise that I don't want to say is like niche, but it has its target audience, right? Sort of that D&D strategy RPG style game from Origins that they got away from pretty quickly in general with the franchise, but people still look at that as one of their favorites in the whole series, and they see how far it's gotten away from exactly how it showed up, where it came from, its roots with something like the Veilguard. But that's sort of what I took away from this, is that they are making the push to try to cast a wide net to get the mainstream involved. There was one other pretty big detail that got out there. It's not going to be open world. It's going to be more mission-based, and I don't really have an issue with that. I think we just have so many open world games now, and they had mentioned, Bioware, that if it's mission-based, they can spend more time to sort of craft and curate what you experience in these different missions, and there are still spots to explore, and it will more or less break away into areas you can get sidetracked to, but they're gonna, I don't say confine you more, but try to lead you a bit more in a linear fashion as opposed to, here's a big Skyrim-like open world, go do what you want. They're still targeting fall 2024. We don't have an exact release date for this one, but after seeing the gameplay, I feel like this is one that I would have to play for myself to see if it's any good, and I'd have to see more abilities because they just showed us one. Again, I don't really know why, if you set up a gameplay trailer like this, you wouldn't just go all out, give yourself some really cool looking abilities that blow up the field and some ultimate attacks and spells just to really impress people. Instead, you had like the one little skill on your hotbar to keep spamming over and over again. Next up, let's talk about PlayStation 2 games on the PlayStation 5 and the PlayStation 4. We, of course, knew that this was happening yesterday since Sony did announce during PlayStation Blog that they're finally going to be using that PlayStation 2 emulator that apparently has been out there for a bit, but they've been working to get just right, and most likely it was for the PlayStation 4. But those 3 games are now live, so if you're a PlayStation Plus premium member, you can just go download any of them and try them out. Otherwise, you can buy them a la carte, just outright on the store without a premium subscription. So if we run through them really quickly, we have Tomb Raider Legend, that is $19.99. We have Sly Cooper and the Thievius Raccoonus, that is $9.99. And then Star Wars The Clone Wars at $4.99. So we have varying levels of experiences here and quality. Tomb Raider Legend appears to be the worst experience, and I mean, ironically enough, it's the most expensive out of the 3, but it is at 480p, at 30 FPS, and kind of a game like Tomb Raider, it feels off. You feel like they would have at least taken it and moved up the frame rate, or just visuals, they could have smoothed it out a bit more, maybe raised that resolution up somewhat. Sly Cooper does appear to be a better experience. So I did download this one, and I had mentioned on the PlayStation podcast, on the Spawncast, that did launch yesterday, by the way. Go check that out. I told Ryan, I said, hey, you know what? I think I'm going to play back through Sly Cooper, right? When it releases here on PlayStation Plus Premium, I'll download it and play back through it and give you some of my thoughts on it now with a more updated view of this game. It has been a while since I've played it, and when I fired it up, it's, yes, 480. It has like that letterbox, like they're trying to keep that aspect ratio and try to do any kind of weird stretching or widescreen effect. And it does run at 60 frames per second. So this one feels better to play, and I think it still looks fine. The art style, I feel like has aged well here. As for Star Wars The Clone Wars, that one actually also looks pretty clean. Still runs resolution that we've talked about at 480. Tomb Raider appears to be the one that a lot of people are looking at a bit sideways, though, as it's Tomb Raider Legend. You feel like there would have been a bit more effort put into it, especially at the $20 mark. That is technically more expensive, even if you add Sly Cooper and Star Wars together. So I feel like this is something that would get an update. See, obviously they can do that as they go forward. They even added trophies to like Toy Story 2 with these recent games that were released. So I would hope that they would look at this and go, okay, we can smooth out some of the issues here with this emulator, maybe raise that frame rate or resolution, just make it a better experience. I mean, these are like the first games that they've put out there for the PS2. So if this is like the worst that it gets, like just as an initial offering, it's like, we got to figure this stuff out. It's actually not the worst, right? It's not bad. So we'll see if they are able to clean up what's happening here with Tomb Raider Legend. But I will tell you, Sly Cooper plays really well, and I definitely recommend that one. Next up, let's talk about Luigi's Mansion 2 HD. It is out later on this month on June 7th, and we had previews go live yesterday, which, surprise, surprise, it's pretty much Luigi's Mansion Dark Moon from the 3DS. Now, there are some differences, and for example, the visuals, which VGC did a very, very good comparison of the 3DS versus the Switch, and Nintendo did a bit more than just take that like the basic game with like the lower resolution on a 240p screen with the 3DS and move it up to the Switch and then on your TV. They spent some time when it came to the character models, textures, and so on. So here's the comparison here from VGC. Make sure you check them out as sourced down below in the description. But the reworked visuals for high resolution with the Switch, redone textures, improved HUD. They replaced character models outright with like Luigi for more detailed ones. There are better controls because, remember, we have dual sticks with the Switch. While we did have that C-stick technically with the new 3DS, they still had to put it out with the expectation that you might play it on the regular 3DS, so you would use like the face buttons on the right to move your aiming around, and it was kind of clunky, we'll say. I mean, it got the job done, and it was really cool to have a Luigi's Mansion game, just like a new one, on the 3DS, but I am envisioning a much smoother control scheme here with the 2 analog sticks, and the map has been moved from the bottom screen to the top corner of the Switch screen, because we obviously don't have 2 screens anymore with the 3DS. It's still going to be supporting online multiplayer, which none of these previews had an opportunity, it seemed, to try that out, so I guess we'll see that at release with the reviews that go live. And yes, it is a full $60, releasing June 27th, and that is clearly going to be the big hang-up for people. I mean, They didn't really do a ton necessarily in terms of additional content, but the price did go up $20, and this, to me, still just fits in to that time period for Nintendo between generations where they're doing remasters. And if you've never played this Luigi's Mansion game, I think it's actually pretty good. So would I still tell you to buy it for $60? I mean, I bought it for $40 and got a kick out of it and enjoyed it just fine on the 3DS. This is just a better version, seemingly, this time looking at it, of that. So I guess, but if you've played it on the 3DS, there's probably not a lot here for you, and you can kind of just move on from it, since $60, especially coming up here soon, we assume, with the Direct around the corner, might be better spent on some newer original games. Maybe like a new Metroid Prime title, we'll see. And in our last bit of news, let's talk about a long-standing mystery that appears to have been solved. That's right, we have some retro news on our hands here, and the mystery has been, why is Masahiro Sakurai referenced in Def Jam Fight for New York with its credits, specifically under the special thanks section? Well, now, thanks to Time Extension, we seem to have an answer to this. So if we take a look here over on their website, they have an entire article going over this as they reached out to different sources, specifically at EA, who had been working there at the time. So, for example, we have the art director, Daryl, who worked on Def Jam Fight for New York, recounting a time where Sakurai was making the rounds, more independent, and at the time was near the EA studio. They say, I remember being very impressed by how he was able to visually articulate game concepts. He did these very passionate whiteboard sketches and had a mastery of PowerPoint storyboard animation circa 2004, which was pretty important for fundraising at the time. That's pretty much all I recall. I'm not sure about the greater context of the meetings with him. Stan Chow might know more. Okay, so Stanley Chow was the executive producer on the game, and he says, as far as I remember, Sakurai came and gave a general presentation to the Def Jam team about the mechanics of fighting games. I don't recall him specifically consulting on or giving feedback on Def Jam Fight for New York. So we at least have a bit more context as to Sakurai's role, apparently, with the Def Jam team, but as Time Extension continues to go on and speculate, most likely after he gave these different presentations, as he's mentioned, rolling out game concepts even to the team on a whiteboard, as, again, he's independent at this time. Pretty much he's still independent now, really, right? He's working with Nintendo under Sora Limited. At this point, though, making the rounds to different studios, he even mentioned at one point, anonymously, just kind of going out there, hey, let me talk to you about different games and maybe give you some ideas. It's possible that maybe a developer who was working on different mechanics thought about maybe the presentation that Sakurai had given him, or maybe they were pulling concepts or just ideas that came from that and said, hey, we'll throw him in the special thanks section because in some way he did contribute to this game. So at least now we kind of know why Sakurai is in the special thanks section for Def Jam Fight for New York. Or hey, maybe you just now found out that Masahiro Sakurai is in the special thanks section for Def Jam Fight for New York. And now you kind of know why. And before we go to the comments of the day, we'll take a look at the poll that I posted up yesterday, where I ask, are you picking up Luigi's Mansion 2 HD? So 49% of people off the bat just say no. There you go. I mean, it's $60. If you already played it on the 3DS, you're probably just walking right past this one. 39% maybe later if there's a sale. And I will admit, this is a game I wouldn't mind picking up cheaper physically for the collection. Like, I did like this Luigi's Mansion game. I just don't really want to pay $20 more than I did a while ago on the 3DS when it was $40, and then 12% say yes, getting it ASAP. I wouldn't mind also seeing the first one. In fact, maybe that would have been a bit easier to spend $60 on. Luigi's Mansion 1 and 2, like a double pack where it gets the HD treatment. Then I would recommend that, because it's like $30 per game. But I can't count Nintendo out, because they absolutely could still bring Luigi's Mansion 1 and like do the HD effect and sell it for $40, or technically $60. But for now, Luigi's Mansion 2 HD is up here in a couple of weeks. And we'll finish up with the comment of the day, as you're seeing here. This is from Camo Steve, who says, never mind Sands of Time being stuck in development. Where is Beyond Good and Evil 2? No one knows. And it was brought up the other day because I forgot about this. Technically, it was announced back in 2008, which means it's been just about 16 years since it was first announced to right now. So that might be the longest running announcement and development of a game. Like, we might end up 20 years in for this thing. And if I'm Ubisoft, if this game's not coming out just say it's canceled. Like, I don't really know why they're holding out with this one, because clearly it's a troubled development and people are basically using it as a meme now. It's a joke. And that probably also means it's never going to live up to any expectations. Could a game ever live up to a 20-year expectation? Probably not. I mean, we at least saw something with like that work in progress live stream, I think. And there was also that weird part where they were asking for collaborations with people around, I don't know, music or something. So who knows what's going on with Beyond Good and Evil 2? Maybe one day it'll reappear looking completely different. And hey, maybe it'll surprise everyone and look awesome, who knows? Although I guess it is Ubisoft, and we saw what happened with another one of their projects that got rebooted multiple times. It was in development for a while with Skull and Bones. And ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it here for Newswave. If you enjoyed this video, guys, hit that like button. If not, hit the dislike. Leave comments down below about everything we talked about here today. Where's Dragon Age the Veilguard? I'm very curious for people who are really into Dragon Age. What did you think of that gameplay presentation? Sort of the direction of the series now overall. And then also, what about those PS2 classic games that went into the PlayStation Plus Premium? Did you get a chance to try any of them? And then Luigi's Mansion 2 HD out here in a couple of weeks. Are you going to be picking it up? Thanks guys for watching, and I'll see you next time.